Hi there, everyone, and welcome back to the From Desk to Dynasty podcast. As always, I'm your guest, Owen, sitting down with a super exciting guest today, Rebecca. Very excited to hear all about her story, her journey, and what she's currently working on right now. So, without further ado, Rebecca, I'll pass it across to yourself for a quick introduction.
Owen, thank you so much for having me on the podcast today. I really enjoyed the conversations that we've had so far and looking forward to a great discussion. So, my name's Rebecca. I work in the med device industry, or I recruit in the med device industry, particularly for sales roles and clinical specialist roles. I started this journey about around a year ago. I had spent about a decade in med device myself in the field and worked for a couple of startups and knew that I could have a greater impact on people and their lives. So I decided to go on this journey into recruitment and entrepreneurship, and that's where we're at today. I'm having a ton of fun doing it. I love what I do, and I love helping people. So really excited to be here.
Amazing. No, very excited to sit down and have you share all of your experiences and insights. But Rebecca, for those who, might not know about you or know about your business, could you maybe share with us a little bit about your journey into recruitment and what it was that really drew you towards the industry?
Sure. So I have always had some interactions with recruiters. I've been fortunate enough to have those interactions. So some really great interactions that, got me some positions that really changed my life, and then some not so positive interactions. So I kind of figured out what was good and what wasn't good. I started out my journey in the medical industry in general with a career in pharma sales at Forest Pharmaceuticals, it used to be called. Now it's something completely different, as pharmaceutical companies do, and decided I wanted to get into med device. So my first job in med device was with a newer company in the neuromodulation space, and I was hired on as their first associate territory manager in the Atlanta area. And, for some reason, the territory manager that was my mentor that I was working underneath left within 6 months, and they decided to hand me all of Atlanta. So I was
Wow.
charged with growing Atlanta, not really knowing much about med device sales, and kind of really learning what to do in the OR and what that environment looks like and how to interact with those customers. So that was a huge growing experience for me. Decided to get out of that and take a new adventure into the neurovascular space. I was worked for a completely new startup in access. I didn't know what neurovascular was when I got into it. I didn't know what that was entailing and the diseases that these physicians were treating, but just really dug into it head first. Really picked up what those procedures were, how people were saving lives, and who the key players were. So I was the first sales rep hired. I was the only sales rep for a couple of years, and through that experience, I think kind of really primed me into this entrepreneurship journey because I really learned how to wear a lot of hats, what it took to be successful, and how to be scrappy. I mean, I was scrappy before, but I definitely had to be way more scrappy in this role. So anyway, so I took that journey, and we ended up getting some PE funding and expanding, and just came to a point where I knew that it was no longer my path. I knew that journey in med device sales was no longer my path, and really put me at a crossroads of what I want to do next with my life. And here I am in recruitment. I kind of jumped off the deep end, so to speak, but all of these experiences that were a little scary at first helped me have the confidence to know that I can do this. I can be successful. I can make a difference in people's lives. And so I started that journey about a year ago. I have acquired few clients along the way. Have made several placements, and I'm just getting started, and I'm super excited.
Wow. Sounds like you've sort of been thrown in head first to a couple of things with,
Yes.
the taking over Atlanta, the first and only sales rep. Um, but that's the type of stuff that bodes very well for when you do essentially make the jump into working for yourself. I
Yeah.
would argue, being that only sales rep, you're kind of working for yourself anyway. Um, so no, good on you. Super interesting story. So obviously we're reasonably new in the business, we've been running for around a year or so. Could you maybe walk me through, those early stages of the firm? I know you touched upon like you have to get scrappy when you're starting something out.
Yes.
What was the original vision and how's that sort of evolved over time?
Sure. So I think the original vision was really to recruit in what I knew best, which was neuromodulation, neurovascular. And I'm very fortunate that I have some coaches in my business that help me out. And so when I was consulting with my coaches, they said, wow, that's really narrow. You need to expand that. So, I called on a lot of people underneath the med device umbrella, only to come back and realize that I really do need to focus and recruit on what I'm passionate about and what I know. And it really makes a difference. So my clients right now are in the neuromodulation, aesthetics and vascular space. And that's where I have a lot of success. I think that sometimes you have to try something and maybe not succeed in order for you to learn and do it better the next time. And I think that that's part of being successful is just being a constant internal learner of, okay, not everything is going to work 100% of the time, but we have to try to ensure that, we can learn from it and we can grow from it. So I think that the first year was just a lot of learning, a lot of growing, a lot of really determining what this business is and how to best add value and implement and at the end of the day, I'm here to help, how to best
Yeah,
help, so I think the vision continues to be that I want to continue to network and find really great people to work with. I love placing somebody in a job and they're like, this is the phone call I've been waiting for. And, but also too, on the flip side of that, I mean, and really importantly is ensure that these sales teams have the right people and the right tools to help them be successful. I mean, I've seen organizations being torn down because they can't keep their people in the doors and they don't treat their people necessarily the best, or they maybe may not recruit the best people. And on the flip side of that, I've also seen, teams just succeed because they have the right people in the seats. So that still remains the vision. A connection is at the heart of what I do, and it will continue. That will always be at the heart of what I do.
100%. It's never not going to be the relationship business.
Yep.
I think you mentioned something really important. That's it's really really prevalent when you're starting a business. It's like make quick decisions, see if it works, and if it doesn't, just sort of bin it. I think I'm a big believer in, make a decision when you're 70% certain, because if you wait till you're 90%, your competitors have already, iterated 5 times, and then
Yes.
you're just behind. So definitely a good way to look at things. But yeah, as starting out, moving out, first entrepreneurial journey, lots of new things, great job in niching down, I think is key. What were some of the biggest challenges that you faced in those really, really early days of growing the business?
I think it's just because people don't know who you are. Recruitment is a long game, and you're not always going to win. I think that recruiters really have to. They're some of the toughest people I know because they hear no all day long, and
Yeah,
people hang up, people are rude, but that's just part of it, right? And then you have a really great conversation. You're like, wow, that makes all the sense. That makes everything better, So I think it's just I think the challenge with it is that when you look at opening a business in a traditional sense, you have to, you open up a brick and mortar location. There's a sign that says, "Here I am. This is what I do," and people drive by, they walk by, they check in to say, "Oh, what is this place?" There's a physical location, and people know who you are because of your building and you're out there. When you're in a recruiting position, or at least in my position where I work from home, which I has been great. Um, you don't have that brand recognition. You don't have the one, people don't know who you are, they don't know your brand, and it's not like you have a physical location. So I think that some of the challenges early on is just doing the outreach, ensuring that people get an introduction to you and who you are and what your business is about, what your specialties are, what your strengths are. And I mean, of course that develops over time, as you continue to work with individuals and work on these job orders and work with organizations within the business, or sorry, people within the organization. That does change over time, but they can get a different light to your different strengths. But I think just people knowing who you are is your biggest challenge when you first start.
100%. I can there's so much to be said about brand and marketing. Is there
Mhm.
anything that you've done in particular to try and really, really sort of increase that brand and speed up that process, other than, just reaching out and trying to get your name out there?
Yeah, so I really do try to align myself with, the best in the industry and maybe uncover some hidden gems that we didn't know about before. And so My goal is to make sure that I'm networking with great candidates, we're networking with great hiring managers. So I think that's a part of it, is just, again, ensuring that these hiring managers know that I do have these people. I have chatted with them, I can connect them. So, again, that connection at the heart of what we do. I'm not a social media person, so I've been trying to be a little bit more present on social media with LinkedIn, because I do know that that's the bread and butter of recruiters, and you kind of that visibility. So just providing my personal insights on what I face on a day-to-day basis, and what my recruiting philosophy is. That's also been very very impactful to my business. But those are really the strategies that I've used, is just picking up the phone and calling someone, as well as ensuring that people know who I am on LinkedIn.
100%. It's so important. But no, cool. Obviously, I'm always interested to see how successful leaders, founders are thinking about the future, and you're clearly building something incredible here, Rebecca. So, say looking ahead over the next 12 to 24 months, what are the biggest growth priorities for yourself and the business?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I think always attracting great clients is a priority, but ensuring that I can service those clients as well. So that really is the focus, is to continue to attract new clients into the business. For the next 12 to 24 months, I do have SDR that works for me. He's based out of the Philippines. His name's Joe. He's great. I love him. But I do also want to expand my team too, to add some more capabilities, so that I can delegate more things and really work on things that I'm really good at, which is the connection piece. So I think that that's the priority within the next 12 to 24 months, is to continue to attract great clients, great candidates, and expand my team as well.
100%. It's not an easy job expanding a team, but I think when you're a recruiter by trade, it can be a little bit easier, I would
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, making sure that you have the right person and the right skill set. But I have a ton of fun with what I do. I feel like I want to make sure that whoever I employ has a ton of fun too. So I think that's part of it, is just not only ensuring that they have the skill set, but they also have the vision as well, and kind of understand why we are and why we're doing what we're doing.
100%. It's all about staying true to the brand, staying true to the mission, um, and scaling sort of responsibly and predictably. But yeah, I love it. Okay, here maybe want to get you thinking a little bit, Rebecca. It's like, if there was one thing in the business right now, number one thing, if you could fix it or improve it, that would have the biggest impact on your firm's growth. What do you think that would be?
That's a really good question. I think it's just continuing to make sure I have good processes down.
Yeah,
I think that really comes down to it, is that, a lot of what we do is very time consuming, and it's important. It's important that we do. It's important that we do that well, the research, finding the right people, finding the right contact information. But I think that there's, and I feel like I have a good process down, but I'm always open and keen to learning about new processes that could potentially make things easier, whether it's sourcing or research, or, finding the right contact information. I think that's really probably it, is just ensuring that, I'm having the best process, most efficient process down.
100%, 100%. I think you're so right. Like, scaling without systems can be super hard. We experienced it in the marketing agency. It was a case of, like, when we first launched, scaled really fast, but didn't have a single system in place. So now we'd sort of taken a lot of money off of people we had fulfillment to do, but didn't really know how to do it, didn't have the infrastructure to do it. So yeah, I think it's so important to have all of your ducks in a row.
Hmm.
So when you do hit that sort of exponential growth, um, everything's sort of counted for, essentially. But yeah, most firms have different growth channels. I know you talked upon that you have that SDR out in the Philippines. I'm sure you're also doing a little bit of work as well. But what's been the most effective growth channel for you guys? Is it all outbound referrals, any partnerships? What does that side of the business look like?
Sure. So the most successful right now has been all outbound. I've had some really good success with some inbound stuff. Within the companies I'm working for, I've had some really good referrals as well. But
Nice.
again, we're still new. We're still putting our brand out there. We're still educating people on who we are and what we can help their team achieve. So a lot of it right now is the outbound, but I'm confident in the future that that'll, change to, my goal is that changes to referrals and, inbound business as well. But, cold calling is the life source of our business right now. And,
Yeah,
for good reason. I think that that's how you are the most successful and, attract and, the most desirable clients.
100%. And I always ask this question because when I started at my first job, we were tasked with doing 150 dials a day. There was a few leniencies there, like if you booked a meeting, you got like a 30 dial credit, that type of thing. How many dials does your SDR do a day, or do you not set a crazy
Yeah,
KPI there?
no, he does about 100 dials a day, and he's very persistent. But it's I think he's such a good person at the heart of it, and I do feel like he understands the why behind what we do, and making that many outbound dials can be very challenging, can be
Yep.
very demotivating, demoralizing, right? Because sometimes you're in voicemail jail, you just can't get out of the voicemail jail, you know. And he does a great job of getting through that. But I mean, I think again, at the heart of understanding why we're doing what we're doing is a good reason to be a motivating factor of it. So just depending on what we have going on, how many searches, active searches we're working, he does about 100 outbound dials a day.
I take my hat off to him. I don't know if I can go back to a job doing 100 plus dials a day. I know how difficult it can be, but it's difficult, but it's also rewarding at the same time because
Yes.
as soon as you get that one win, the motivation is just through the roof to keep on going and get
Yes.
more.
Yes. And I still do it too. I mean, there's days where I'll make 70, 80 dials a day just
Good
to,
on you.
yeah, make sure that I'm staying sharp, but I'm also, filling in the gaps where we need to fill in the gaps. And so I enjoy it too. It's always fun catching people on the phone and chatting with them. So I like it as well.
I love it. It's leading from the front as well. I think
Mhm.
sometimes, leaders, I don't want to say they'll get complacent, but they'll almost think like, this is below me, this isn't my job. So it's great to see that you're still, actively picking up the phone and actively, showing Joe exactly how it's done. Hopefully a bit of healthy competition there as well.
Yeah, I would, yes, I think weirdly so. I think that's probably accurate. So.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, no, I take my hat off to both yourself and Joe. I say making dials is not an easy job. So yeah, I respect that fully. But yeah, Rebecca, over the length of the business, I appreciate there's been a lot of, try something, might not work, iterate, might work, run with it. Are there any strategies that you've tried, since inception that you've found to be really, really interesting, even if they, potentially didn't work out the way that you'd maybe expected?
So, the most successful, strategies that I found is one, just providing value, not be another voice in the space. I mean, I feel like it's interesting. When I started, I felt like I, was doing a ton of outbound, and I probably was, just considered noise in the marketplace, just because I'm learning. I'm learning it as we go. But it's interesting sitting on this side of things because I do feel like I get a lot of cold outreach from people offering services,
Yeah.
and it's not very personalized. It's not tailored. They didn't take the time to understand, what I'm doing, what is my business about, what is my niche, what is my specialty, right? And I feel like it's very easy to find if they just did a little bit of a, research on.
Research, yeah.
Yeah. So what's really been effective for me is just, when I'm pitching a new client, you really tailoring that initial outreach to say, hey, I noticed this about your company, and here is a gap that I can help fulfill in that space. Whether it's, the industry knowledge, the fact that I've been in your shoes myself, I've done this before. Whether it's I have a great candidate, I recently completed a search, I've chatted with them, would you want to connect over this candidate? Let's see if we could potentially, help you out with this candidate. So I think just being hyper personalized and very targeted with what I'm doing with my approach, with my clients, and who I'm approaching, as well as, ensuring that I truly am the best person to help them within. within this recruiting realm.
100%. I get it as well. So my inbox flooded quite a bit with, as you say, what I'm going to describe, because my biggest channel when I was in sales was email. All I
Mm.
would do, pride myself on being, reasonably good at emails. And yeah, some of the stuff that lands in my inbox, I'm like, if you took 30 seconds to scroll my LinkedIn or like click to my website, you'd have a much better chance of, getting a reply.
Yes,
So I couldn't agree more. It's a low leverage task. It doesn't take much time, but needs to be done. Really needs to be done.
absolutely.
Cool. And another one to get you thinking, Rebecca. If you could test out one idea in the business with absolutely zero risk attached to it, is there anything you would love to try?
I mean, at this point, no, I don't think so because I feel like, any idea that I've had has been, let's think about it, let's contemplate on it, but, to an earlier point, let's execute. So I don't think there's anything right now that I would, test out and would potentially damage or idea that would damage. Again, the heart of what I do is connecting great people, great leaders with great people, and I don't really see. There's so much talk out there with AI and reaching out with all these tech advancements, but no, I think just really that approach of at the end of the day, I'm just looking to connect with you over a phone call and determine if this is a good fit. So I don't think so. I honestly think that, what I've done has been pretty successful, and I don't really have anything that I think that would potentially fail, if that makes any sense, because my
Yeah.
intentions are to, at the end of the day, to be help, to be a value add resource.
100% and pure intentions. And I love it. That obviously means that you've tried everything that you want to try and it's went well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's great. Also you've touched upon, expanding the team as we grow over the next sort of 12 to 24 months. How do you sort of see your position as a leader evolving throughout that growth period in a case of do you think you'll have to step back a little bit from the day to day? Will you want to stay pretty involved? How do you think that will look?
So I do think eventually, just by the nature of scaling, I will have to step back a little bit of the day to day and really look at managing my business versus, working in my business, working on my business versus working in my business. But I still, at the end of the day, I do feel like I'm going to be very heavily involved in, what that looks like. Digging into who our clients are, who their identities are, how we can best help, how we can best align. Because I do think that again, being a founder and doing this, I want to make sure that my identity is throughout this firm as I continue to grow and expand it. So I don't think I'll ever be completely hands off. And one, I just have a ton of fun doing it. I love it. So
Yeah.
I think just by nature of that as well, I think I'll always, be involved probably a little more, just because I really enjoy it. I enjoy connecting with people.
Amazing, amazing. It's what's the saying? It's like if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life or something like that. And
Yep.
yeah, definitely rings true in your situation. Um, but no, super interesting. One sort of final one here, Rebecca. If you could snap your fingers and have one part of the business be super easy tomorrow, what would that one thing be?
I think it's just again the research, and I know I could hire somebody and it'd be like, hey, like, okay, I got this, but just being able to delegate that out right now is probably again the next move in my business as I'm looking to expand. But that's probably what it is just again the processes and the time and resources and energy that I dedicate to finding the right people and finding the right contact information and ensuring that maybe somebody's not 100% aligned based on whatever their profile says, but just having a conversation to ensure that they will, that there's tangent skills that we could potentially work in the role that I'm working on. So it's an easy fix, honestly. I think I just again, I'm working on scaling the process where I can bring a researcher on board, and I think that's probably one of the next steps in my business.
Amazing, amazing. No, super excited to hear it. As we sort of come to a little bit of a close here, Rebecca, from even just your whole career and then your journey into being, a founder, what what has really been the most rewarding part of that for you?
I think it's just, I think the most rewarding part of, going from a career to becoming a founder is that knowing that I can do really hard things.
Yeah.
Looking back and seeing, wow, I didn't know anything about that. I was so scared to do that, but I did it anyways. And look what I was able to accomplish. I made a difference. So I think it's just knowing that you don't always have to have all of the variables plugged in, and taking a chance, like a risk on yourself, and really seizing that opportunity to jump into something new. I think that that's probably, what is the most rewarding thing, is just being able to look back and say, I took a risk. It was scary. I did it anyways. And look what I've been able to build and accomplish, and how I've been able to impact people. And so I think that that's probably the most rewarding thing out of this whole journey.
I love it. I think, yeah, what you're speaking about, I think I've seen a quote about it recently. It's like the mo like the thing that you achieve the most out of earning $1 million is not actually earning $1 million. It's the person that you had to become to earn that $1 million. So it's not the actual monetary benefit, it's the change in, personnel, all of that type of development. So yeah, I think you're bang on there.
Yep.
Cool. And for someone else who's maybe just starting out, they maybe just made that leap from employment, stability, benefits to that sort of entrepreneurial founder path. If you could give that person, one piece of advice before starting, what do you think that would be?
I think it would be, your bad days can be, I think, really bad, and your good days can be really good, right? But I think it's just maintaining that mindset and that vision of where you have to go and what you're looking to do. Having, I watch something every single day that reminds me of where I want to be with my business and my goals and my personal goals. And so just having that vision, and, again, to your point earlier, having that faith that, I know this is the person I want to be, and having that faith that you'll catch up to it. So just having the mindset, the vision, but also to just, the grit to get through it, to get through the bad days, so you can enjoy the really great days as well. Because if you know where your true North Star is, and you, launch yourself in that direction, you may come across some challenges, but as long as you continue to have that grit and power through, you're going to get to your true North down the road.
100%. I couldn't agree more. Amazing advice because, yeah, my experience at the beginning anyway, the bad days most certainly outweigh the good days. It seems
Mhm.
like you're just getting, pummeled day after day after day, until it all starts to click. So I think amazing advice there. Um, but yeah, Rebecca, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for sharing your story, sharing about your business and all about your journey. I've really enjoyed the conversation. Before we jump off, where can people find you? Where can people find the business?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do have a website, expandedtalent.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Rebecca Thornton. It's LinkedIn/in/slash Rebecca Thornton. So it's very easy. Yeah, but yeah, website or LinkedIn, those are two great places to find me.
Amazing. Well, everyone, go reach out to Rebecca. I know you're in the DMs. Really enjoyed it, Rebecca. Thank you so much for coming on.
Likewise, thank you so much for having me.
No problem.